The Louisville Police Department is trying to start a new chapter in the aftermath of the Breon Taylor shooting. The city swore in a new interim police chief on Thursday. Yvette Gentry is the first woman to hold the post, and she said that her first order of business is rebuilding trust. That's why she's already ordered the removal of plywood that boarded up the police department for months. Gentry sat down with our own Adriana Diaz before she took office and outlined some of her plans to heal her broken community.
Many in this community say they've lost confidence in their police officers. How do you rebuild that confidence?
I think it starts with me. And I hate to hear that they've lost confidence overall, but I understand. I understand kind of where we are in this moment in time with everything that has taken place. But I think it starts with me, leading by example and being a woman of my word, and being accessible to people. I was talking about that earlier, just people feel like that they don't have access, and so they don't feel like they're being heard. That's why they're yelling and protesting, and I get that, right? Because they have issues that they want to hear addressed.
How are you holding up on all of this? It's heavy, it's intense, it's heartbreaking, it's hard on the officers, I'm sure. You are the first black woman to lead this department. How are you doing?
First female.
First female at all.
Right. So the woman's touch, and then she's a black girl too, so I'm good with that. But I feel the weight. I think when you are the first, the expectations are extremely high, and I'm not going to get back hundreds of years of everything, right? Especially not in 6 months or 8 months. But I can get us started in a direction. So I feel the weight, but I'm ready. I voluntarily did this. I left my comfort, and I told the officers and I told people in the community, I'm leaving my comfort of the jobs that I had and the peace that I had to try to create peace and comfort for other people.
There is a lot of divided opinion on both sides. How do you heal this broken city?
I think the first step is to create a shared agenda. And first, they want to know from start to finish what happened. And we got to lay that out for them. And not just one document at a time, but just really trying to figure out, telling the scope of the story, good, bad, ugly. People want to know what happened. And so we have to figure out a way, what is the best way to do that? Do we do a reenactment, or what do we do that goes through, and what is the voice that they trust to tell it? Because that matters too, right? Because we can release all the documents in the world and people can form their own opinions, but I don't know that gets us through a real timeline of what the truth is, and that's what people need.
Your police officers are also members of this community,
Absolutely.
But they are under extreme scrutiny. How do you rebuild morale with your officers?
I think it's just, I will just say this, and a lot of people don't realize this. Before there was a march in the street in 2020 of May, there was a group of police officers in May of 2019 that said, we want to see our police department change. We have units that don't have any diversity in it. We don't feel like we have support, all of this stuff. And these were the questions that they were raising. And so I think it's important for us to realize that, in this situation, nobody's winning. Everybody's mad. Police are overworked. They're tired. They're doing a lot of things. The community feels unheard. As a lower level police officer, they're not getting information either. They're getting the information from the media too. They don't get briefings. They don't get that stuff. So I think if we realize that we're not as far apart at that level, on the ground level, as people think we are, I think that's a start.
What do you make of the fact that the grand jury proceeding recordings are going to be released by court order?
That's interesting, because I want to hear what the scope was. The scope matters, because people are going to be looking at me and say, well, what are you going to do? And I need to make sure I have the answers to the entire scope of it if I'm going to bring about systemic change.
Have you seen the grand jury proceedings?
I haven't. So
Okay.
I'll be finding it out when everybody else does.
More and more information is coming out to point to the fact that officers possibly violated policy that
Right.
night. I've spoken to activists, protesters in the community who say, if rules were broken that night, what other rules were broken? How can
Right.
we trust this process?
Right.
What do you say to them?
And I think that's where we have to look at the information and get it, and then we got to hold people accountable. We have to look at the entire system that we have here and make sure that it's a healthy system. It's going to have to start from us. We can't even get an email through our executive team without it getting leaked. And so if you don't have that trust, then how's the officer who sees something incorrect or inappropriate on the street going to feel comfortable going up this way with the chain? So I think we just have to acknowledge that. and make sure that we return to our discipline, and that we're doing things in the appropriate way, and that everybody sees a path to do what they do right.